Oros. LuAnn serves as community consultant on hunger and homelessness at Washington University. He brings over 15 years of local experience in these issues, and as a member of St. Louis City Continuum of Care, Lu collaborates with over 50 agencies working with and for homeless and food insecure individuals throughout St. Louis. And I can also attest, I've heard LuAnn speak about hunger and homelessness, and she really is, she does have a bodhisattva spirit. She does a lot of good work through Washington University and other agencies. Thank you.
See if I can hold this and read and do it all at once, but I'll try. I'm very honored to be here today. I want to thank Sharon very much for inviting me. I just want to also say that I'm not an expert in this. I don't have a degree in social work or nutrition. I'm just a person that 15 years ago saw a young woman in my church, and I'd just been going to church for a short time, and I noticed that she was very, very ill. I could tell she was ill. And so I asked someone, I like to make soup. That's kind of what I like to do. So I asked if it would be okay if I brought some soup for her. And they said, yeah, I think she would enjoy that. And so that's what I did. And that started this journey that's taken me to you today. And over the years, I've just had a lot of opportunity to observe and a lot of opportunity to say, okay, there's a need here. How can we fill this need? And I think that's what I heard, that that's what you want to do, is how can we help, however we can help, to relieve hunger for those that are hungry on a daily basis. So Sharon asked me to share some statistics, so that's what I'm going to do, so that we can put into context what it does look like here in St. Louis and Missouri, and where we fall then nationally as far as the number of hungry people that we have here in St. Louis. So bear with me. Well, the truth is that this morning, it's a Sunday morning, there were probably about 135,000 children in St. Louis. And when I say St. Louis, I mean St. Louis City and County. We're not just talking about the urban city center, who did not have breakfast this morning. So 135,000 children that could fill Busch Stadium 3 times probably didn't have breakfast, and the reason is because it's Sunday. So on Sunday, you don't get your free or reduced cost breakfast and lunch that you get when you go to school. And that number represents the fact that there's about 85,000 of our kids enrolled, 85% of the kids enrolled in the St. Louis public school districts qualify for the free or reduced cost breakfast and lunch. And so if they qualify for that, that means that they're at or below the poverty level. And that means that when the kids go home, it's a good chance that there's no food at home for them if they're in that level of poverty. Currently, about 33% of St. Louis City and County residents live below the poverty level, which today means that if you have an income of $22,000 or less for a family of 4, you are in the poverty level. So if you qualify for food stamps and you're at that poverty level, that means you qualify. You're allotted about less than $4.25 a day, or about $1.41 a meal. And Bethany and I were just sharing that some of the students on WashU's campus did a week of that to see just what that looked like. There was a lot of ramen noodles and peanut butter eaten that week. But the reality is that you can't, that's a very little bit amount of money, so that's the whole food stamp issue. And we're not talking about hunger with people who are homeless. In St. Louis, we're very fortunate that if you are homeless in St. Louis, you can eat very well. There are a lot of community centers, shelters, soup kitchens, where if you're homeless, you will not be hungry. So when we're talking about the largest majority of hungry people in St. Louis are people who are working, They're trying to make ends meet for their family. And they're individuals on a fixed income. We're talking about seniors, and we're talking about those who are disabled. That's where our largest number of hungry people are in St. Louis. I use a lot of the statistics off of the site of the Food Research and Action Center, frac.org. And anybody can go on there, and the statistics are pretty current and pretty right on because they use numbers from the latest census. So the numbers I'm citing are from the 2010 census, and they're pretty accurate. They keep it pretty accurate. So in 2011, St. Louis ranked 65. They were number 65 out of the top 100 largest metropolitan areas, showing that 17.5% of the citizens of St. Louis experience daily food insecurity. What food insecurity is that when a family is challenged financially, let's say you're working, you're just making it paycheck to paycheck, you have enough money if nothing goes wrong to pay your bills and to feed your family. But because you're in that cash flow situation, if a car breaks down, or if you have an unexpected illness, or anything that throws that budget off, what's the most expendable part of your budget is food. That's optional. Where if, does that make sense? So if you find yourself in a pinch financially, what goes away is the food. And so today what we're seeing in our economy and the reality of what we're living in is that incomes are just not quite making it. We all had a tax increase that went into effect in January that takes money out of that budget that most of the time food is what's expendable. So food insecurity, the definition means that you don't know from day to day where your food will come from or how you'll feed your family. That's the definition of food insecurity. So across Missouri in the last 10 years, there was a 79% increase in participation of children in the free and reduced breakfast lunch. So in 10 years' time, the increase went up 79%. Missouri is number 5 out of 50 states with the highest rate of kids' food insecurity. We're number 5, which means that 23% of our kids are affected by hunger in Missouri, 1 out of every 4 children. And the most affected county in the state of Missouri is Washington County. It's not just a city problem, it's a rural problem as well. And in Washington County, the number goes up to 1 out of every 3 kids lives in a house of food insecurity. In 2011, Missouri was ranked number 22 among the 50 states. It has almost a 20% of its citizens experience low or very low food insecurity. So again, 1 out of every 5 people in Missouri don't know where their next meal will come from. In 2009, on a national level, USDA's report on household food security in the U.S. determined that there are 50.1 million Americans, and I happen to know that's now gone up to 75 million Americans, including probably close to 20 million children, lack the means to get enough nutritious food on a regular basis or are food insecure. So again, the current economic situation has put a 20% increase on our food banks. And Bethany's going to talk specifically about the St. Louis Area Food Bank, but in St. Louis we're very fortunate. We have 2 major food banks. We have the St. Louis Area Food Bank and we have Operation Food Search. And the increase on demand for food on both of these have gone up at least 20%. I would urge any of you who are interested in seeing a real depiction of what hunger in America looks like to see a documentary that just started on March 1st. It's called A Place at the Table. And the documentary is only going to be shown during the month of March at the Tivoli Theater in University City. And it's a very nonpartisan look at what hunger really looks like in the United States right now. And I have to tell you that I got to see a preview of it in February, and I didn't learn anything new. They're not telling, for somebody who's working on this on a daily basis, there was nothing new. But what I saw were the people behind these statistics. And the story of a policeman who could no longer afford groceries. And the stories behind these statistics are what we need to see more of. And it also gives the ways that I believe, and I'm going to be working with a team of people who believe that St. Louis can be one of the first major cities in this country to end homelessness, because we have the resources and we have the tools to do this. And it is going to take some change in our legislation. And so some of us that have seen this movie, and the movie kind of outlines how we've gone over the years